Welcome back. Hope you guys enjoyed our third edition of the competition segment. We had a lot of fun on the tennis courts, but while we're talking on the subject of tennis, Leyton here is on the tennis team, and you want to kind of talk about that? Like, what's it like being on the tennis team?
A bunch of great guys. I really enjoy the tennis team. We're pretty competitive this year. This is the most competitive we've ever been. So that's really exciting. We've won quite a few matches here recently, and hoping to keep it going. Maybe compete for conference championship, conference title, that kind of thing. So that's kind of the goal, for sure.
What's the worst part? There's always a pro and con to anything. So.
I don't know. I think all college athletes will say this, and I'll say it now, but just travel time. It's got to be the worst part. Mm-hmm. I remember distinctly the first time we had to travel, and I remember coach being like, "Oh, I wake up by 6 a.m. We're on the bus by 6:30," and I'm like, "What do you mean we're on the bus by 6:30?" I'm trying to sleep. And don't get me wrong, we left early, but then she's like, "Oh, it's like a 3-hour drive," and I'm like, because you grow up you're traveling 10, 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes at tops to go play these teams. I know in football you guys probably did. And so it's I know in tennis, at least around here, we only travel 15 minutes. We're traveling 15 minutes to go play a match, then you're home by 7 o'clock. Mm-hmm. And so this was an all-day thing. And I just remember being so out of it that next morning when we had to travel, and I was asleep the whole drive. Yeah. And it was just, so I'd say travel distance is you're always playing somewhere hour and a half, 2 hours away, that kind of thing. So
that's definitely the biggest difference, or one of the biggest differences from high school to college.
Oh yeah.
In college, it's an hour drive. You're like, wow, that was a quick drive.
Yeah.
In 3 hours, you're like, okay, it's pretty long. In high school, 45 minutes, you're like, wow.
It feels like forever.
Yeah.
All I'm doing today is sitting on a bus. And
right. Sitting on a bus, playing a game, and then going back on the bus.
Yeah, but then you got I don't know how football has been, but I know for tennis, it's an all day thing. We're I'll miss classes that day, and we'll leave in the morning, we'll play midday, and then we're driving back, and it's you won't get home until 6, 7, 8 o'clock, and then you're already leaving that morning, and so it's we've even had somewhere we've stayed overnight, and it's an all day thing compared to high school where it's just your end of the day activity. It's nothing crazy.
Well, for us, we play on Saturdays, so they'll leave early in the morning, if not the day before, and get there for the game, and they won't get back till super late as well, just depending where they're at. Right. It also sucks that we're the only team in Indiana in our conference, so we're always.
Are we really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I did not know that.
Everybody else is in Michigan. That's why we're the Michigan Intercollegiate.
The more you know.
MIA right there.
Yeah, that's why it's because people are like, "Oh yeah, who do you play?" I'm like, "Well, all the colleges we play are in Michigan, so we're always in Michigan." Right? I don't think there's anybody else.
Yeah, no, I don't think.
We just played non-conference games in Indiana. Yeah. Except just Rose Holman, I guess, now. Because Bluffton's in Ohio, right?
Yeah.
And then Christopher Newport.
Which is 10 hours away in Virginia.
Yeah, so we play Christopher Newport now. We added them to our schedule, and I think they're here this year.
That's what I've heard.
Which is nice. And then next year
next year's going to be a trek, though. It's going to be a couple days.
That's going to be an all-day trip.
That's crazy.
But it's very annoying. We didn't really have to travel a whole lot just playing on JV this year, but I would agree, just the drives, driving to Adrian the first game, driving to Alma as well. It's a long drive, and it's just you try to stay focused and stay locked in because you're about to play a game, but you're also just worn out just from the drive. But I don't know how James is, but I always fall asleep on rides. If it's a drive over 45 minutes, I'm probably snoozing.
That's how I am. I'll be awake for the first 30 minutes, but then once I get comfy and I'm chilling, I'll probably fall asleep.
I can't fall asleep when I'm sitting up. I have to be super tired to fall asleep.
Did you fall asleep back? How did you fall asleep back this morning?
I was up for about an hour.
You told me that you can't fall back asleep when you wake up.
It was an hour of watching YouTube videos trying to fall back asleep.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I was telling Zach and Clay about that. I was like, I wonder how James is gonna fall back asleep.
What were you watching?
Just random videos, boring ones too, so I could fall asleep.
should just watch like a ASMR like cooking video or something.
Oh, that's even
crazy. I'll take you to sleep.
I was hungry though, so it probably would have woken me up.
I wish the calf opened earlier on
Oh,
Sundays.
yes. Okay.
I would have went and
All
gotten.
right, can we talk about this for a second? Why? It's so, like, I understand, like, brunch. But, like, that, okay, you asked one thing I don't like about Trine is on the weekends, 11 to 1 is such an inconvenient time to start your day.
I'll agree. It's very, I don't know the word. I can't think of the word. It's very inconvenient.
Yeah, like
the timing of it.
It's not even like it's that frustrating, but like, and don't get me wrong, I know most people are sleeping in anyways, but like, you know, like I'll sleep until like 9 or 10, and like I want to get up at like 9:30, and like I'm not just gonna sit in my room for an hour and a half waiting on food. So like my sleep schedule has gone like so late.
You're almost forced to sleep in.
Yeah, that's what I would. Yeah,
that's what I was
gonna say. Is like I kind of make my schedule around that, like, because I really can't like start my day without getting something to eat.
Oh, that's how I am.
And like I won't function very well. Like obviously my 8 a.m. classes, I'll go and just have like a granola bar or something, but it's just like I wish they were open a little bit earlier, especially this morning. I would have easily went and gotten food and then went back to sleep. But unfortunately, we didn't have that option.
Yeah.
But
No.
but yeah. So what's kind of like how are you able to balance school and video and tennis and all that?
That's a good question. Yeah, it's a time commitment. It's something that like you really have to block out your day and really create time for these things. Gosh, I would say editing at night, to be honest with you. Like that's the biggest thing is like, you know, you don't wake up at 9, go to classes from like 10 to 1. You know, you're then in practice from like 3 to 5, something like that. And then it's like, you know, obviously like we all have our own things outside of classes and our sports. And so I've like being able to then go, you know, if you have an event to go shoot that night, then going to shoot that event and then coming home and like filtering the footage. It's a big time commitment. Biggest thing I would say is like scheduling and just like schedule your day out beforehand. That's what I like to do. And especially with like, if I'm going to shoot an event of some kind, like I know I'm going to shoot that event like in a week in advance, like at least a week and like week minimum. And so that really helps because then you can kind of prepare. Like I'll, you know, clear all my SD cards, I'll charge batteries, like do all those kind of things to prepare for that. Then yeah, on match days you're not really getting anything because you're going to play tennis. So really it's just a big balancing act, especially with time, just kind of blocking out time.
I would say it probably works out pretty well though. That like how tennis is a spring sport because I'm not saying like spring sports are boring, but like they're not as people aren't really going out to spring sports right away. At least
They're definitely not highlight oriented. For sure.
And like and especially like softball, like we have a really really good softball team, the best in the nation, and so it's just like that's a really good like opportunity. But like baseball is a long and strenuous game, and lacrosse is a long game and stuff like that. Like there's not a whole lot of action in those sports.
Those are very hard events to shoot. Like I haven't gotten to shoot any of them personally, but from everyone that I know that have had like said they've gone to shoot these events, they're really really hard to shoot without a 70 to 200.
Yeah.
So for those watching, that's a fairly like middle range kind of a camera lens that allows you to really catch those moments, especially in like a lacrosse or a football or, you know, baseball, softball. And so, number one, I don't have one yet, which, and babies are expensive.
Yeah.
But number two, they are very slow events. And so, you know, I would say that's definitely, because like I haven't gone to shoot any of them yet. I'm trying to get into a spring football practice. So, you know, one of you two want to hook me up with some connections there.
We're trying, man.
But,
Don't film James when you come in.
I'm gonna film James locking you up.
Yeah.
James doesn't play on me. James is a safety now.
Okay, well,
He's scared.
Still talk crap though.
I still got James on this one.
All right.
No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, it's definitely something I'll learn and get used to.
Yeah.
So.
How do you like? I don't know how I can explain this, but like, how would you say tennis like kind of helps you out in a way, like in college? I mean, you kind of mentioned it already, but Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I love it because number one, I grew up playing tennis. So like my dad was a tennis coach. I've been around the sport literally ever since I can remember. And so I don't know at the end of high school that I was ready to give it up, which is partially why I picked Trine. Is because like if I went to a big school, don't get me wrong, you'd find other things to do, but like I wasn't sure that I was ready to give up tennis or ready to give up I don't know, just staying like that kind of active every day. And so that's one thing that I would say is definitely a benefit is like it is keeping you active. Like I'm always doing something pretty much every day with tennis. And if I'm not, then I'm doing videography or, schoolwork or whatnot. So definitely staying active is one thing I love about it. And that's helped me out. And then just being able to play with guys who are really, really good at the sport. Like, you go from high school playing like 2 or 3 guys a year that are probably, top, the top level guys to then you go and just show up to college and you're like, oh, like our top 10 are all this way and they're all ridiculous athletes and they're all really, really good at tennis. It's like you definitely grow as a player for sure.
I would say it's pretty much the same for football too. Like everybody's coming in was pretty much like the guy, if not like at their high school. And so it's like the way the people that like thrive on the team, I would say, and like get better a lot faster than the other people that don't get as like better as quickly is the ones that like kind of get rid of that mindset that they're like still the guy and they're just like head down, going to work, trying to get better. And
no, I 100% agree. Like you have the difference between like confidence and like you can't ever lose your confidence. That's one thing that's like you always have to keep that because if you don't, then these guys who are more confident that were that guy in high school that have adopted that mentality they're gonna run you into the ground. But like just understanding the idea that like, oh, there's guys here who are probably better than I am, or there's guys here who have put just as much time as I have, then it really kind of resets your mind frame. Like I remember our first day of practice, and I remember like the first week vividly because it's like, you go from being in high school thinking like, oh yeah, I'm a pretty decent tennis player, to show up to practice the first day and you got guys pounding the crap out of the ball, and you're like, I've never seen anything like this more than like 2 guys, and then you've got 8 guys doing it, and so you just hop right in, you keep your confidence and get to work. So that's kind of the mentality.
Yeah.
It's funny going into your first week of practice because everyone comes in thinking, maybe I'm not that guy 100%, but I'm pretty good.
Right.
I'm better than a lot of these guys. And you get humbled real fast. Because I know everyone's thought that. You might have been like humbled yourself to be like, I know I'm not going to, start or this or that, but you still think you're going to be pretty good and you're going to help the team. And then you realize, wow, there's a lot of good athletes here.
Well, I would say it's probably even more on the football team. Because like you guys, how many guys do you even have?
At least, well, right now we only have probably like a little bit over 100.
See, a little bit over 100 is crazy.
Yeah,
but
probably going to add
when we
50.
get freshmen in, we'll probably have close to 200.
That's insane.
Yeah.
So like even then, it's even more in football then, because like we've got 20 guys or so on the team, which is still a lot for a tennis team, but it's like, your top 10 guys are the guys who are typically competing, and it's like, I mean, even then though, you're right, you get humbled real quick when you show up and you see some of these guys, and you're like, I've never hit like that a day in my life, or like for you guys, I mean, like, I don't know, something specific like at position spots.
It's more so just like you feel out of place and like I'm blanking on words today. Like you don't feel prepared, I guess.
Underprepared.
So like because all these guys have had a whole season, if not more,
right,
to like prepare, and like they are in the playbook already, like they're like already know what the coaches want out of them and stuff like that, and like the expectations. So it's like you got to catch up real quick. And so like I think what helped me a lot was like understanding like I'm not gonna get time like on varsity this year. Like it's just not gonna happen.
Right.
Like unless I just somehow become like way better than them, but I'm not, because like they have the trust with the quarterbacks already. Like like I'm not dissing anybody. Like we had some of the best receivers in the conference on our team that are like super like matured, super like great leaders. Like I learned so much from them, and so like I understood like they probably went through the same thing as me, and like but that's where the point I want to get to. Like I want to get to where they're at, and so it's just like accepting that and like not getting discouraged, like you said.
Well, but that's a good way to put it. Is like you want to reach that point. Like it's almost like I don't want to say you look to them as like a role model because they're on your team. So
Right.
like they are your teammates, but almost looking to them as like, okay, and kind of resetting your mind to be like, this is where I want to be.
Yeah.
So like, this is what I'm going to continue working for.
You just use them as like a basis of
Yeah.
comparison.
It's not like
yeah.
you want to be them. Like, you
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like, that's like where they're at is where you want to get. Like, that's,
Especially I say position as in like, you know, in good sense, like with your quarterback, understanding all the plays,
Yeah.
like being at that, getting the opportunity to do those things. Like that's a big thing
Yeah.
that like even on the tennis team we've got. Like I look at guys and be like, that's where I want to be in a few years, and like I want to be in that position to do those kind of things. And so, you know, it all comes with time. Like they've all put their time in, they all earn it for sure.
yeah. It's just when you realize that they were in your shoes too, like, is when it helps a lot too. Like, just talking to them, like, they're like, hey, like, don't beat yourself up over a bad practice. Like, if you mess up, like, it's all right. Like, we've all been there. Like, you're going to drop passes. Like, you're going to miss coverages or something like that. Like, someone's going to beat you. Somebody's going to, like, lock you up. Like, it's just going to happen. Like, that's the game. But it's just, like, how you take it and, like, take it as a man.
Well, I mean, I guess I can ask you guys, like, the competition, like, what is that like, especially in football? Because, like, I know, like, I can say from the tennis team, like, my perspective on the tennis team, like, playing these guys who are far better than me, it's only made me better. And so, like, I would imagine, especially on the football team too, you know, you go against guys who are really, really good, or like we've talked about, have been in that position.
Yeah.
I mean, iron sharpens iron, right?
Right.
So, like, you get that opportunity to even compete with those guys in practice, and it makes you better.
Yeah. I mean, even, like, we went back and forth hundreds of times last season, like, in practices and stuff. And, like, it was never, like, people were, like, always jokingly asked, like, oh, who's better? Like, neither of us.
Right.
I would have a good day or he would have a good day. It's just how it would be. Like, it's never like I'm beating him every time or he's locking me up every time. So it's what I think is a lot of fun too.
And even playing against the varsity team as scout team players, we were both scout team, and playing against the varsity guys, it really makes you adapt. Otherwise, you're going to fail.
Right.
Like, you're going to fail no matter what, but at the same time, you figure out, oh, this works and this doesn't. Like, this works against elite competition. This won't. But you can get away with that other stuff when you're playing against, you know, Caleb or other freshman guys, where now you're learning a lot more just from your failure.
Right. No, that's a big thing, is adapting. Like, you're gonna have to adapt.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of playing college sports. Like, that's what I've told everyone that has asked about tennis, is like, it's just adapting and it's just being willing to improve. And it's like, if you're not, then, well, you're probably not gonna grow as a player.
No, I would 100% agree with you. Like, being able to go up against like Costa and like JP and all of them, like last year at scout team, like, sure, I'm not running our routes, but like, I'm able to learn how to get off a press better. Like, I'm getting more of those reps against the best of the best on our team. And so, like, even like coming out in the spring, like, I see so much more growth than like last season as a starter, or not as a starter, but like starting out as a freshman. Because like I wasn't getting pressed as a freshman, or not a freshman, like in high school.
Right.
Like, they were always back in coverage, like in a zone.
Right.
And so, like, it was just learning how to do that and learning how to read stuff in it better, and like how like corners will play you and whatnot. And so I think that's what, like, especially being able to have that on this, like, you're not going to get that on a D1 team. Like, that's what I think is we have the best opportunity, is like we have enough players and they allow us to have a JV team at D3. And so we get those reps, and also we're able to grow better.
Well, and here's a big thing too, that like most people fail to well, I say fail to notice. Probably notice, it's just hard to acknowledge, but like, the guys that aren't going D1 that probably could, they're not going to a D2 school. They're gonna go right down to a good D3 school. And so, like, I mean, I can even say, like, on the tennis team, we've got a few guys that are really, really good that probably could go play low-level D1, really high-level D2. And it's like, but they chose Trine for the academics, and so then they're here. And then you're stuck playing guys who are really, really freaking good, that it's like, I mean, I would guess it's probably the same in football.
Yeah.
I can't be sure.
No,
but like,
it's 100%.
well, even like our basketball team. Like, I look at like filming the basketball guys, and I'd look at some of the plays that they make or some of the skills that they have, and I'm like, those are Division I level type skills. But it's like, maybe because they didn't get the opportunity, or just something small happened that they're not playing at a lower level Division I, or just some small things like that put them at D3. But like, that's why we won a national championship, is because we were good enough at that level that it's like, okay, national championship, here we come.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That kind of thing.
Going off of that, there's guys in D3 that have D1 skills, but it's small things that don't let them go D1, like height or weight or athleticism or even academics. There's a lot of those too where these guys are now playing D3 just because they weren't the perfect size or strength or whatever it is, whatever deficiency they have, but they're still really, really good and have the skills to play D1.
Oh yeah, like I think of just right off the top of my head, the guy Jake Gladio on our track team. He's a 2-time national champion. He has so many
he's just dominated everything.
Since he was a freshman, he's just been the best, and so it's just like he could have gone D1 easily, probably.
Oh yeah.
But I'm sure there's other things, other stipulations why he didn't. But he's just an absolute dog, a freak of an athlete. He went and competed at NC State and was second place in in the couple of events, and it's just he's going against the guys that are D1 and he's D3. And I think just people don't understand college sports are college sports.
Oh yeah.
They're no matter where you're at, it's a step up. And so it's
something crazy. It's I've got a buddy that plays at Grace. He's a senior this year. He was a senior when I was a freshman. Really, really good basketball player. But he's going up against Grace plays Purdue. Mm-hmm. And so I know I was surprised too. But they were oh yeah, no, they played at Purdue, at Mackey, and it was he was going up against Zach Edey, but he was holding his own. I'm watching the game and I'm he's not getting bullied down in the post. He's not giving up a ton of crazy points to Zach Edey, and Zach Edey was the National Player of the Year. Zach Edey's one of the best bigs, arguably the best bigs in college basketball. I'll argue against it.
The dude's 7'6". You can't argue against 7'6", man.
No, well, hey, hey, we can talk about Trace Jackson Davis and Zach Edey real quick, but no, but he was holding his own, and so college basketball and college sports in general are college sports. At whatever level you're going to be at, you're going to be playing high level. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. It's really interesting.
Yeah, I would say it's almost D3, call it D3 to D1. They're all college sports. It's just the difference between a Division I player and a Division III player is a Division I player is closer to being a pro than a Division III player. D3 players can go pro. Don't get me wrong, but it's just they're ready. They're almost ready to go.
That's the example that I in basketball, right? A Division III guy, you talk about Drew Moore, for instance, on our basketball team. I know Drew's a great guy, but you watch Drew in warm-ups, Drew's jumping up and doing windmills, but it's he's not jumping up for the guys in Division I will just jump and float, and he's just kind of jumping, and so it's just that small difference in athleticism. Or that small difference in height, or because I think he's 6'4", 6'3". If he was 6'5", 6'6", maybe he had that little bit more of athletic. He's got a skill set to go Division I. Cortez Garland for a second. He's one of the best point guards I've ever watched play, but he's on the smaller end of height.
He's
and he doesn't have a ton of he can't really dunk. And so it's most point guards that are in college basketball can dunk, either that or you're just a freak of a shooter.
Yeah.
And it's it's just those small little things that will separate the Division I and Division III.
Yeah.
But you do make a good point. Division I guys are closer to going pro.
Mm-hmm. And they probably and I'm sure Cortez will go pro overseas if not here. And so it's not we're saying the Division III players can't go pro in any sport.
There's been a few.
Yeah, people can go. They can go pro. If you're good enough, people will find you. And so.
Yep.
But
yeah, I agree.
So now what we're going to do, we're going to kind of transition into our top 5 today with Leyton.
Last segment of the day.
Yeah, we're going to close off with that. Leyton was going to give us his top 5 movies. He was kind of adamant about that when we talked about it in one of our other episodes.
Oh, yeah.
So he's kind of got his list and hit us.
All right. So at 1.
No. You got to go 5 to 1. Come on.
What?
It's a list, bro.
Come on.
All right. Yeah.
Are you guys going to let me say Game of Thrones? Can I throw Game of Thrones as an honorable mention?
Sure.
Yeah, you can toss that as an honorable mention.
Okay. So TV show, literally the best thing I've ever watched, movies or TV shows. Game of Thrones all day. At 5, I've got Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. So
never watched.
Quality Lord of the Rings. I love me some good Lord of the Rings. Love me some good Game of Thrones. Those movies I love them.
Have you seen The Hobbit at all?
No.
All right.
I have the book, though.
Oh,
All 3 of them.
Please read.
I started. I got too bored.
I was gonna say it's
Shout
so
out to
hard
my Uncle
read.
Ryan. He got me that book, but I haven't read it. I think Justin has it, so.
Those books are so hard to read. Have you ever read them?
It's just so long.
I read like I read The Hobbit, and then I just was like, I'm watching the movie.
I can't read books. Like, not that I physically can't read. That's not what I'm
He's
saying.
illiterate. He's illiterate.
That's not what I'm saying.
Right here.
I do not like reading books. Like I feel like I kind of have ADHD, so like my brain will go everywhere if I'm reading.
No, that's fair. All right, so at number 4, Sandlot.
That's a classic.
I
I haven't thought about that
love me
one.
some Sandlot.
Okay.
That's a movie I grew up on. So like,
Yeah, that's a classic.
Dude, I had myself some old Converse shoes. You got the Benny shoes, is what I called them. Like, come on now. So, at 3, I've got Rudy.
Rudy's
I
a good
don't
one,
know
too.
if you. Okay, you guys.
Yes.
Yes.
Who
thank
hasn't
you.
watched Rudy? Come
okay,
on.
well, I don't know. I've met plenty of people who have it.
That's just
20
crazy.
people who-
Especially in Indiana.
All right, ready?
It's in Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Remember the Titans or Rudy?
Remember the Titans or Rudy?
Let's
Remember
talk
the
about this
Titans.
for a
I would probably say Remember the Titans.
Remember the Titans was a really,
and I'm a
really,
Notre
really
Dame
good
fan,
movie.
and I would say because just it's
Oh,
a good
guys.
movie.
No, I'll agree.
I feel like
It's a
the plot
great
is
movie.
better for Remember the Titans.
Yeah.
Like the conflict
I'll
there
agree with
was
that.
better. Like
I'm biased because I grew up
Rudy
on
was kind of like an underdog story where it wasn't like
Rudy and Sandlot
Yeah.
were like the 2 movies I watched.
I
growing
heard
up.
that. I heard like the story of Rudy was actually like
It's real.
all. I heard it wasn't like most
it's
of it's
not?
not. I heard most of it's not.
Nah, don't ruin my childhood
no,
like that.
I saw a thing and like people were talking about it.
Oh my
like
God.
like Joe Montana was talking
yeah,
about
look it up.
and I'm pretty sure
Looking it
people were
up.
saying like some of it was made up.
I guess wait, how much of it was true? 92%.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I
it's
guess
not
it is
that
pretty
bad.
true.
So they probably embellished a little bit on a few things.
I think
but-
they might have been talking about the part where they were like chanting Rudy. I don't think they
Oh,
did that.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of stuff. I never trust movies that say based on a true story because you know they're dramatized so much for the action.
Well, I mean, the plot line is probably interesting, but like
Yeah.
the actual like, so like as a videographer, like you're gonna make things look
Right.
really good.
Well, it's probably-
or like
yeah.
make things look better than they are.
Yeah.
It's like they probably weren't changing.
It's probably the parts that like, because most of it's probably like, especially like old stuff is probably based off of what people remember, like accounts and
Oh,
stuff
that's
like that.
true.
So it's probably not a lot of like historically accurate stuff.
Plus accounts are dramatized anyway.
Yes. So yeah, like you're gonna like, oh yeah, my great grandpappy said this or whatever. So
Okay.
Yeah, walking 5 miles to school and like 3 feet of
Yeah,
snow
I was
and
gonna say up a hill,
negative
like,
32
up a
degrees.
mountain. Yeah.
is that your list? Do you have any more?
Oh no, I've got more.
Okay.
I just put it away because I actually remembered this one now.
So wait, what were you at? Were you at 3? 3 was Rudy?
That was 3 was Rudy.
Okay.
So 2, we're going OG Transformers. We're talking
Okay.
like, God, what's his name? I know Megan Fox is in it.
Megan
Shia
Fox.
LaBeouf.
That
Shia LaBeouf.
Shia
Yes.
LaBeouf.
Shia LaBeouf and Megan Fox. Like we're talking OG Transformers.
can't go wrong. That was every
yeah.
little kid's
Like,
favorite movie.
The
Mainly
first.
because of Megan Fox. Not ashamed to
I
say
was
it.
gonna let you say it. I was gonna say I won't say it, but no, yeah, that's a great movie.
I've
Well,
never
like
been a
even
big
like
Transformer.
really.
I've never like. It's not a like. Especially, I feel like there's just so many of them, and like now, and like
Well,
I
that's-
can't really.
The
follow
plot's
along.
definitely gotten ruined pretty recently.
But
They're
I would
just
say
trying
like
to
the
make money.
original ones though.
Yeah, the original ones
I
are
think I've
very
watched
good.
Original ones are really, really
Yeah.
good. Like they would have to probably be aside from this next one that I'm about to name, and then that trilogy like series. Transformers has to be the second best.
And there really hasn't been. Transformers was kind of a totally new plot, like where it wasn't
Yeah.
aliens or it wasn't just humans versus humans. Like Transformers, kind of a mix of both.
Well, it was also like I now look at things as how they're filmed because that's partially what I do, but like I love the way Transformers is filmed. Like it's so action based.
Michael Bay.
They got so many like little things in like I don't know. We talk about like sound design as a videographer, right? Like sound design is something that's so important because when you're watching a video, you've got your eyes and you got your ears. But like the sound in Transformers is like it's so insane. And like when you, like I watch it in theaters, like or
Yeah,
you watch it with
it's
surround
awesome.
sound or anything. It's like just the sound makes it so good. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Good pick. Good pick.
Yeah. And then at 1, I know we talked about this before. Gotta have Rogue One from Star
Rogue
Wars.
Rogue One, #1 overall.
Yes.
No, listen.
Not
I
even a
Yes,
#1 Star Wars movie. I'm telling you.
It's
Listen.
a great.
I think it's up there.
I agree. Okay,
you.
I agree. It's up there. Me and Caleb have talked about this.
I can make this argument. Like, I
well, here,
really
you ready
can.
for my argument? So, like, I grew up on 3 movies. Okay, it was Rudy, it was Sandlot, and it was Star Wars. Just I'll say Star Wars in general, because like we watched them all. Mm-hmm. But like recently, out of all of the Star Wars, Rogue One has to be the best.
Rogue One was a surprisingly good movie. I thought it was going to be a bad Disney movie.
Yes.
And it just wasn't.
No, it was really.
It's because they didn't really they didn't tamper with anything. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, it was, it's like it's a whole new movie, so it can't be ruined. It's by Disney.
Well, and like the plot line too. Like, you can't ruin the plot line because it's literally designed around this one thing. And like, don't get me wrong, they did a really freaking good job of like tying the plots together. Like the end of Rogue One, where
it worked. Yes.
It worked perfectly.
Yes.
But it's just
that ending with Darth Vader is probably one of my favorite scenes.
Darth Vader has to be like the coolest villain.
He is the villain.
Easily.
Like he's got like
Darth
the coolest villain origin story. And then like I don't know.
Have you seen all the stuff of people saying, have you seen Dune?
You
need to watch Dune. It's really good, first off.
Have you seen it?
James, you need to also watch it.
Like
it's really good.
I put it on my list though.
But everybody's like, so apparently Dune or Star Wars is off of Dune. It's in a way, like when you watch it, you'll realize like, oh my gosh.
Like there's so many little complexities.
Yes, it's very, very like the plot of it, like the rise and downfall of the character. It's very similar to the prequels.
And Dune was written a while ago, right?
I'm pretty sure Dune was before Star Wars.
Like 1960s, was it? Or was it early 1970s?
I have no idea. I think 1960s.
Yeah, I've never watched a single Dune movie.
Mm-hmm. There's only 2, right?
Well, there's 2 old ones.
Wasn't there? I was gonna say, wasn't there some original ones that were like really old?
There's an old one like from like 1980, I think, or 1990.
Well, who's the main actor in Dune? Isn't it Timothée
Chalamet?
Yeah, he's a good actor.
Uh-huh.
I like there's one movie. It's called The King, I think, that he plays in. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it. See, like I like those old like not medieval times kind of movies, but like, you know, you got Game of Thrones, you got Lord of the Rings. Like this one kind of fits along that line. His acting in that is insane. He's a really good actor.
Yeah, they have a movie in 1984. It's like the original one, and then I think they have another one that's like a spin-off in 2011. No, Dune.
I don't know. All I know is I've heard it's really good. Everyone's telling me like it's the next movie to watch.
Yeah,
I haven't got around to it, but
there's not the first one. There's like not a whole lot of action until like the end, and somehow they make it really good.
Really,
it's like awesome. But you kind of talked about it a little bit. We're about out of time, anyways. But since I've been getting into like video and stuff like that, just watching like commercials, TV broadcasts, movies.
You notice every little thing.
Yeah, and you're like, how do they do that?
Yeah.
And you're just like, I want to add that. And especially like watching videos on like Instagram, like Reels.
That's a big thing.
And I'm like, oh yeah, I could definitely do that. Like off the top of my head, I know how to do that. Or like, I have no idea.
Yeah, I know we've talked about this before, but like you got like the Celtics media team. Mm-hmm. Like that tends to be a very popular topic amongst ourselves. But it's like, I look at like stuff and I'm like, oh, like I could do that. I could do that. And then you try to resemble it. And like that is how you grow. But like I'll even say in movies, more or less, like I'll watch movies and I'm like, the sound design on this is crazy. And like even just the visual aspects of it.
Yeah, for sure. But that'll round out our top 5 with Leyton. You guys have anything else before we close?
Hey, it's been a pleasure. It was really good conversation. I appreciate having you on.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Great episode 11.
For
sure.
So make sure you guys follow the Instagram, our Gold Stripe Podcast Instagram. Also follow Leyton on Instagram. I'll plug his socials down there as well. But yeah, thanks for having us again. We'll see you guys next time on the Gold Stripe Podcast.